right. So happy to be here. That special thanks to Gail for hooking it up and for inviting me to this very important forum. It's good to be here again, and it's good to share some thoughts with all of you. Basically, what we want to talk about this during this time is what's been going on. I'll share with you a little bit about what's been going on in my world in 2020, the gift that keeps on giving, and I'll talk about a few of the projects that I have coming up. Yeah, by the way, all of this you can check it out on my website, Sean-Jones.com. You'll see that rolling across the screen at various points. I'll share a few other thoughts with you about certain things. Well, 2020 has been interesting to say the least. Back in March, on specifically March 12th of 2020, my first daughter is born, and I'm super excited about that. She was born 8 pounds, 11 ounces. Her name is Phoebe Eileen, and she's quite amazing. So COVID, and the lockdown and sheltering in place has been pretty awesome for me in that I've gotten to see her grow up. And I can't imagine actually at this point in time, just being on the road the way that I've been on the road and not being able to see her literally grow up every single day. And that's been really fantastic for me. So that's been taking up a good amount of my time. And other things that have taken up time is really, truly redeveloping an entire curriculum at Peabody, the Peabody Conservatory of Music. Actually, now it's the Peabody Conservatory because we have dance. But I basically rewrote the entire curriculum to fit the students in COVID-19. So that's been pretty tense. Lots going on there with revamping that. But we're excited about the future. Students have been pretty engaged. I've focused on the students having project-oriented studies versus going to a physical classroom or even going into a Zoom session every single week at a certain time. I've developed the curriculum to afford them the opportunity of exploration, to get into the shed, to really lock down certain fundamentals, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So that's been pretty successful as of now. And actually, next year, we are projected to have our largest incoming class, which is pretty amazing. Our applications are up 15% even in COVID-19. So that's been pretty awesome. Curriculum changes. Again, I created a jazz seminar class, which is not so groundbreaking, but the way that we did it, we had various guest artists come in to talk about certain things. And we also spent 50% of the time really focusing on what they want to be doing and projecting in their field upon graduation. So we do that a whole lot. And that's been pretty important. Other things that I've done in COVID-19 or, this year, I pretty much have 3 albums ready to go. Obviously, I haven't been in the studio in a little bit, but it's time to get back out there. My focus over the past few years has been more geared towards education and sort of filling the certain gaps that have happened in the industry. One of them is that the Grammy Band out in LA, which was a huge part of the development of many young jazz musicians in my generation and older generations and some younger, that has become defunct. It no longer exists. And so when I realized that, the opportunity to engage with Carnegie Hall at with their youth programs and education has been pretty amazing. NIO, the National Youth Orchestra out of Carnegie Hall, was founded almost 10 years ago, about 3 years ago, actually 3 years ago to be exact. They started a jazz component of their National Youth Orchestra. And what happens is we select 22 young musicians from all over the country to get together and do a 2-week residency at SUNY Purchase, where they're literally practicing and rehearsing for 8 hours a day. And then after those 2 weeks, we do a culminating performance at Carnegie Hall. And after that performance at Carnegie Hall, we then take the show on the road and we go on tour. And the first year we were on tour with Diane Reeves, which was pretty amazing. And after that, the following year, we went on the road with Kurt Elling. We were projected to go on the road this past summer with John Baptiste, but obviously things got turned around. But we're looking to get back out there next summer. And actually, that ensemble last year, we were the first ensemble to perform in basically China's version of the Kennedy Center, their national performing arts facilities there. We were the first jazz to ever perform there. So that was pretty amazing. So I've been working with them, getting things together for that. Also, like I said, I have about, going back to the albums, I have about 3 albums ready to go. One of those projects is a project that's called Dizzy Spells, which I do with Brene Ali, who's my partner in crime and the mother of my first child. We're working on the Dizzy Spells project, which is basically looking at Dizzy Gillespie's music through an Afro-futuristic lens. We've really been checking out Afrofuturism a whole lot. For those of you that are looking to get into it a little bit more, that's a fantastic book by Itasha Womack on Afrofuturism. And obviously, some of you know what Afrofuturism is because of Sun Ra, all right, and his orchestra and various other folks. So you can dive into that. And you can check out what we're doing with Dizzy Spells coming up here in this year. Okay. So all of that's going on in the midst of trying to maintain performances. We were just notified as of yesterday that the vast majority of live stream performances are banned in Baltimore as of today at 5 p.m. Like it literally just happened. We're trying to find some loopholes inside of that so some of us can continue to play. But it's been pretty challenging just being at home, playing your instrument by yourself without really any place to go perform it on a consistent basis. There are no tours. There are spot dates here and there. And obviously a live stream is not going to go on as long as your typical gig. So, that requires you to really force yourself to develop a routine that almost mirrors what's happening with the live performances. So I'll give you a little bit of a window into what I've been doing regarding that and just keeping the chops busy. For those of you that may not know what chops are, that is your physical ability to execute on an instrument at a high level. Okay. So, excuse me, my normal routine typically has me playing just pedagogical stuff at the first part of the day. What I mean by pedagogical things is things that keep my technical facility happening and keep the sound going. So lots of long tones, lots of corner exercises for the trumpet to make sure that this is firm, scales, arpeggios. I've also decided that I was going to expand that even further and take those certain those exercises up or down the octave so that I could get a little bit of the same feeling that I would have inside of the gig scenario. So there's that. Also, I've broken my routine down into 3 basic sections. This is something that I've always done. Actually, I start off with the pedagogical routine. Then the next routine that I do in the middle of the day is a routine that's based on the European classical genre, and I do a lot of etudes and that certain classical exercises. Now, some people kind of disagree with me a little bit on this, in that they feel that, oh, you're a jazz musician, you can play jazz, and that could be your pedagogy. Well, for me, that's not really the case, because my feeling is that the larger pedagogical influence on the instrument, the trumpet, my chosen instrument of choice, the larger pedagogical influence is written inside of the classical genre, inside of their solos, inside of their techniques, things like that. So I study that genre and I study that music, and that basically reinforces what I did or what I do in the pedagogical routine. Okay. So that's 2 routines. That's 2 sections of the routine. So the first one, again, is the pedagogical routine. The second one is the reinforcement of that pedagogy. And then I have a larger routine, which happens later on in the evening, which is what I call the musicianship routine. And that routine is designed to focus on the foundation of my music making. Okay, that's primarily the jazz genre. So I'll play whatever I'm working on regarding that. As of late, what changes is I actually try to mirror a gig during that time. So I'll either use a play along, or I'll create a play along or something myself. That's Phoebe. She's saying hi. But I'll either create or play along myself and just do a series of those, so that I'm playing and it's lasting for about 1 hour, 75 minutes, which is the typical length of a set. And so if you're able to do that at least every other night, then you're able to stay in shape. And that's really important. Okay. So I've been doing that. And a lot of folks have been calling me, just because, I'm the professor. A lot of folks have been calling me, just sort of asking, specifically brass players, asking me what they're doing, or asking me what to do during this time to mirror that. Another thing I've been doing is, most of you can see behind me, there are several albums. And I've really taken the opportunity to take a step back and investigate some of the albums that I really haven't investigated as much as before. So of the few thousand records that are behind me all along this wall, I've just literally forced myself to sit there and listen to albums that I haven't listened to for years, or albums that I did listen to for years, but listened to with a different perspective and vantage point. And I think that's something that we all could do during this time a little bit more. Just simply taking a step back, breathing, and enjoying the space that we're in, or, forcing ourselves to not necessarily enjoy that space, but to reckon with ourselves. And I'll talk about that a little bit, because one of the big things I talk about, which is part of the conversation that I mentioned earlier regarding shedding and practicing and all of that, that requires you to sort of go inside. Now, when I say that I've been listening to records and things like that at the piano and all of that, sometimes over the past few months, I just literally forget that time exists. I just won't clock in, or I won't, follow the regiment, the routine. And I'll say, okay, today is my day, and I'm going to go into this space, and I'm just going to explore different genres, explore musics that I didn't get into as much. Like one of the artists that I've really been getting into a lot lately is June Tyson. All right. This is a wonderful record that was just reissued on a label out of Detroit called Modern Harmonic, and they have a lot of Sunrise stuff. And June Tyson was one of the main contributors to Sunrise Band, and it's a super killing record. Okay, super, super, super killing. Saturnian Queen of the Sun Ra Orchestra, and it has a wonderful. If you're able to check that this recording out, it has a wonderful pamphlet in it with a lot of her ideas, and it's done really well. So you can check that out. So Sunrise, something I've really been getting into, and that goes in with Afrofuturism. I've also really gotten back into just soul, listening to soul, specifically a vocalist by the name of Freddie Scott. Freddie Scott is one of my favorite vocalists. I mean, he sings like full out. I mean, you know, it's not a lot of falsetto. Not saying that that's bad to have falsetto, but it's like it's a full voice, a full male voice, and it's out there. And that's just something that I love and don't perhaps get enough of these days. So I've been listening to a lot of that and really thinking about how that's been a part of my playing. And again, going back to self-assessment and just looking in the mirror, is I've also listened to my own albums a lot, just front to back, questioning some of the things that I did, celebrating some of the things that I did, and asking myself, what do I want the next 10 years of my music making to be like? What do I want people to get out of the concerts? What is my sound? Who am I? What am I doing? Especially now. And so I've written a lot of compositions, just sort of investigating that sound, the vocal aspect of the trumpet. And I'm just enjoying the melody, just being able to play a melody and let that melody live and breathe on its own. So that's been pretty amazing regarding self-discovery. And I encourage everyone to do that. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also daunting. And it's a little scary, especially in this time of uncertainty. And it's hard to embrace being alone. And that's sort of the flip side of going insular, going inside of yourself, is that, you know, that mirror can be an uncomfortable place. But it's extremely important to visit the mirror and to assess what you've done well, what you haven't done so well, and which direction you want to go in. And that requires musicians on a practical standpoint to be in the shed, the wood shed, okay? Literally closing things off. Now, a few minutes ago, I talked about the practice routine. Now, the practice routine in your daily schedule or regimen, we all know that it's not what it was 20 years ago. Primarily because we have this thing, we have phones, we have this going off, this ringing, that, and the other. And it's really hard to just block it all out. But I think that it's important for us to do that now more than ever. In fact, I would suggest to the folks that are listening here is to just try it. One day next week, completely unplug. No cell phone, no television, no computer, no nothing. If you're able to do that and literally explore things. And then look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? What am I doing? What do I need to be doing? What do I want Sean to look like, or whoever you are? What do I want that to look like in 2021? I think a lot of people are looking forward to January 1st this year, 2021. But I would caution people to recognize that that's just another day in time continuum. Things don't change just because it's 2021 now and not 2020. It's important to keep going. It's important to keep your eye on the prize. And it's been incredibly difficult to do that this year. And that brings me to my next sort of point. Back in the spring, watching the news and watching over and over again on repeat the death and the murder of George Floyd, and just seeing that over and over again. A lot of things just kind of came to my mind watching that video over and over again. The first thing that came to my mind is that, I've seen this before. I've seen brothers, sisters get killed. I've seen it. Seen brothers and sisters get handcuffed, thrown up against walls, all of that kind of stuff. But the more I saw it, the more enraged I got. The more I saw it, the more I found myself being in contentious discussions with folks. Anger, frustration, sadness. And I decided at that point in time to do a few things. One, of course, write music, talk about it. Number two, I thought about my position in the music. I'm an educator. I've been blessed to have a position at Johns Hopkins University, which ironically we just found out that Hopkins owned slaves, even though he projected an image of being an abolitionist for years. Anyway, that's another subject. But writing music, having conversations with people, and using these platforms. So I'm at Hopkins, so I found myself trying to be involved in as many committees, diversity policy committees, as I possibly can. I literally began seeking them out. And as of now, I'm on 11 committees at Johns Hopkins University right now that are designed to implement change and create diversity. One of them is involving the potential elimination of campus police. All right. We're doing a lot of work here. And policy is what's important for me. I've sort of taken that on as my way of making change happen. Protests are important. I protested here in Baltimore a few times. It's important to write posts. It's important to show your frustration. But for me, one of the most important things to do is to get inside of institutions and create change. That's the reason that I came to Johns Hopkins University. That's the reason that I came to Peabody. I left. It was very hard to leave the Berklee College of Music. It's one of the greatest music schools in the world. And I was feeling really good there. But in the words of Donald Byrd, happy belated birthday, Brother Donald Byrd, something he told me 20 years ago when I went to see him at Birdland. He said, don't go where the work is being done. He said, go where the work isn't being done and do the work there. That's what he told me regarding jazz education and music education. And that's what he did, teaching at Howard University, teaching at Oberlin Conservatory, and many other schools. He literally went where the work needed to happen and made it happen. And that's what I wanted to do here. There's also something I want to do, with the Jazz Education Network. You can check that out, Jazz Education Network. That's at jazzednet.org. A lot of folks think that the Jazz Education Network is pretty much the IAJE, but with a couple different people. It is not IAJE at all. It's that's JazzEdNet. Yep, jazzednet.org. That is it. It is not the IAJE. It's a completely different organization. It's much more diverse. It is student focused. It is networking focused. And we are also moving from just being a solely conference driven organization to offering things year round. And you can join that. You could join jazzednet.org. We need you to be a part of that to make the change happen. I am fortunate enough to become the president this year. I became president of Jazz Ed Jazz Education Network back in July, and I have 2 years as president. And we're excited about our conference coming up here pretty soon in January. It's the first week of January, first Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday of January. We have all online offerings multiple times a day. It's going to be pretty amazing. You can check out the roster there. We got folks like Christian McBride are going to be joining us, Ambrose Akinmusiri, Jeff Coffin. The list goes on and on with cats that are going to be presenting master classes, performances of things that have never been seen. So we're really excited about that. Check that out. But like I said, after before giving the commercial, I joined that organization because I wanted to be a part of larger systemic change in jazz education. Okay. That is extremely important to me. For a long time, jazz education was largely run by folks that weren't really players. They were just, great educators, but not necessarily players or having real world experience. For me, I wanted to be the cat that was in the classroom that could actually play and knows what it's like to talk to Herbie Hancock, knows what it's like to talk to Marcus Miller, Winton, the list goes on, so that they have a direct source in me. And I got into jazz education 20 years ago. I can't believe it's literally been 20 years since I took my first teaching appointment at Youngstown State University. And it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. It's been an eye-opening journey. It's been something that I will continue on doing, and I will get out of the way when it's time for the next generation to come on. And I literally wanted to be the one person or one of the people in my generation to be the gatekeeper for cats that wanted to get into jazz education. And that's what's happening now. A lot of colleagues, they're saying, hey, man, how's this teaching gig? What's going on with that? How do I get in there? How do I do this? And I'm very happy to say that I've developed a skill set that will not only help them get the job, but keep it. So I'm thrilled about that. And that's what my life's work is all about. Obviously, it's about playing. It's about connecting with as many great musicians as possible, but it's also ensuring that the music is curated and dealt with properly by the generations are to come. And I know that time is almost out. I want to say thank you so much again to Gail Boyd for having me here in alternate venues for jazz. I wish you all nothing but the best. Take care of one another. Be safe. Support the music. Support the musicians. And I also want us to think about the promoters and the presenters and the agents and the managers of the artists that are out here. They're suffering too. We just lost the jazz standard in New York. Think about my brother Seth every day, So we're all in this together. It's important for all of us to support one another. And I'll say right now, call upon me if you need me for anything. Okay. Please see me as a resource. If nothing else, an ear, and we will all come out of this on the other side of better. I was with Brother Ty Barkin last night at the last Keystone Corner live stream of 2020. And he reminded me that there's always more bright moments to be shared. And that's what I'll leave with you all at this point. I want to thank you again. And I look forward to seeing you all in 2021 for more bright moments.